Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably know from that attempt at a French introduction to this video that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille adjacent, or antique Italian decks to help me answer a question that I pull from my larger weekly spread. And I've done the weekly spread videos already. They're in two parts these days because they're really super long and it's a really super detailed spread based on the Tree of Life. So if you haven't seen that video yet, let me suggest that you go look at that, at least, well, look at both parts before coming back and watching this, because you'll have a better idea of the reason why this reading is going to go the way it's going to go if you know the background for it. So I'm going to put a card up here for you to hop over and look at part one, watch part one, watch then part two, and then come back here and watch this. Because the question that I'm asking of the Tarot de Marseille, I'm using Tarot de Marseille this time, is to give me the central message for this week's Tree of Life reading. Yeah, I'm asking for the central message of the large spread because really it's almost a 2-hour reading, and having a short, concise message is also helpful. So that's what we're going to do. Now, just in case you have seen those and you want a quick refresher, I titled this week's Tree of Life reading, Sometimes It's About the Endings. Sometimes it is about endings, yeah? Oftentimes in our tarot readings, we think of cycles, we think of new beginnings, we think of liminal spaces. And when those cards of endings, like the Death card, or in Tarot de Marseille, the unnamed card 13, or the Tower card, or some of those other endings kinds of cards come up, we feel very uncomfortable. We get a little anxious, perhaps. But sometimes it is about the endings, and sometimes even when living an intentional life, we come upon an ending and we want to pay attention to that. We want to give it the space that it is asking for. And so that is what we're going to do today. We're going to be giving it the space that it's asking for. And we're going to ask for the central message of that larger spread, which started with an ending and ended up with looking at our boundaries, looking at expanding or reorganizing our relationships. There's a lot to do with organization in that spread as well, getting things back in order, doing the Virgo-like tasks of organizing, making lists, that kind of thing was also indicated in that larger spread. So I've done well, you'll see how many cards reading in just a second. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the question I ask, all nice and pretty in letters. What is the central message of this week's tarot and this week's Tree of Life spread? And then I'm going to show you the spread that came up. And then we'll move on from there. Okay? So, here we go. You just saw a beautiful deck, I think. Don't you agree? It's a wonderful deck. This is the Tarot de Marseille Swiss by Il Meneghello. And it's a wonderful deck to use. It's a facsimile-ish deck, but it's got wonderful cardstock. It's flexible. It shuffles fairly well. It has sharp corners, so you have to be careful of those. But except for that, it's a wonderful deck to use to read with. And Il Meneghello makes wonderful products. So I'll put a link to the Il Meneghello shop in the description box below, so you can go over and check out this deck or some of the other offerings that they have. I have many of their decks and I just think they're wonderful. So highly recommend them. Now, you just saw there was a mess of cards on the table, right? There were 5 of them. And I promise, I swear, I laid a 3-card spread. And I was looking at that spread from the Knight of Coins to the Devil to the Tower. And that was a really interesting thing, right? From the Devil to the Tower. This is a very well shuffled deck, by the way. So having those two come in succession was intriguing and interesting. And so as I was looking at those two cards together, I started to wonder, you know, in the Tower card, that burst of energy, that fire, or whatever you want to call it, coming down from the sky that cracks open the top of the tower. I was wondering, where is that energy coming from? Where is that fire coming from? So I decided to lay another card. Yeah, and I laid another card, and it was Le Pendu. It was the Hanged Man, my card. So, of course, my first reaction is always, well, it's coming from me. But of course, there are other indications to the Hanged Man as well. And so I was looking at those four cards, and I thought, is this the end of the spread? And then I saw, well, you know, the Hanged Man is still looking off this right side of the spread, and I thought, well, okay, let's just see what happens if I pull one more card to see what the Hanged Man, from which the energy that cracks open the tower, what that Hanged Man is looking at, what's on his mind. So then you saw we got the Seven of Cups. So that's what's on his mind. And that's why we've got this huge old spread. But let's dive into it. And we're going to read it from left to right. That's the way the general line of gaze looks like it's flowing to me. From the Knight of Discs looking this way, the figures in the Devil card are front facing. The figures in the Tower card are looking at the ground. I mean, I could have pulled a card below to see what they were looking at, but I decided not to. And then we went to the Hanged Man, who was also looking this way. So that's the direction we're going to read. And so we start off with the Knight of Coins. Let me show you this card up close and personal. There he is, the Knight of Coins. You see, it's a beautiful rendition of this card. It's a very softly drawn image, right? The lines are a little soft. I don't want to say fuzzy or blurry. They're soft. And you see the knight looking at the pentacle flying in the air in front of him, or her, or them. And so what is this Knight of Coins for us? And why is the Knight of Coins the beginning card for this spread when it's about endings? Well, like I said, it's about endings, but it's also about doing the tasks, getting organized, right? And so this card coming up right out of that, we start off with an ending, and then we move into getting organized. And so, yeah, getting organized is part of the idea of the Knight of Coins, I believe. Yeah, efficiency, hard work and responsibility, taking on challenges. This knight isn't going to just sit back on the haunches of the horse and keep busy with what's around them. This knight is moving forward, not rushing forward, not running forward, not dashing off into the unknown, but this knight is moving forward and able to take on challenges, take on things that they have not done before. Which is an important point, because there were indications of, after the endings, of expanding, or looking to see if there is room for expansion. So taking on challenges, going beyond matter into creativity. Yeah, there's a creative aspect to the Knight of Coins, which is different from the creativity of the Knight of Wands, for example, which is the creativity of the leader, of the passionate one. This creativity is the one of the piecing things together and looking to see how things fit and how things can become something else by moving stuff around, yeah? So there's a creativity to the Knight of Coin as well. But again, different from the creativity of the Knight of Wands. And this creativity is productive. Yeah, it's not just like I'm inspired, I want to do, which is wonderful, and I love that feeling, but this is a productive creativity, a creativity of doing stuff. Again, putting things together, making something new. And finding a place for that in the world. This is advancement in a practical direction. Yeah, the Knight of Coins is practical. We're not following our, like I said, inspiration or our intuition even from the Knight of Coins. I'm sorry, the Knight of Cups. We're advancing in a practical way. We've got some clear goal in sight, hopefully. But even if we don't, we're moving forward practically. We see where the next step is going to be. We may not see a goal like in the distance, perhaps like the Knight of Swords, but we do see a goal, and that goal might be just the next step, putting the next foot forward, which is important when we come to endings, right? Being able to put the next foot forward, rather than collapsing in a heap of anxiety, depression, or unease or unworthiness. And if those things come up, of course, we want to give attention to those feelings. I'm not saying that we're going to push forward and repress the feelings that come up. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. The feelings that come up are to be recognized and to be able to move forward with them, right? And if we can't do it on our own, there's help out there. There's always help. And if we can't do it alone, we want to find the help that is available for us. And that help will help us take that next step, or those next steps forward, like the Knight of Coins. Again, not rushing forward in blissful abandon or inspired creativity, but moving forward step by step. So this is how we begin from the ending, I think. And this moves us into what? The devil. That freaked me out for a moment, honestly. So we're moving forward into our old addictions. Is that what it's saying? We're moving forward into our feelings of being trapped or enslaved. I mean, those are possible readings or meanings for this devil cards. This is a lovely devil, I think. I love the bat wings on this devil. I love the imps chained below this devil. I love the colors of this devil. Yeah, the red horns. It looks like there's a white mustache on this devil, doesn't it? The furry legs. This is a Swiss-style devil. And the devil can be things like chaos. It can be a dependency and attachment. But it can also be playfulness. The devil is, in some senses, Sophia here in the material, Sophia, the God, the female aspect of God, here in the material realm, because she is the creatrix of the material. She is the one who gives birth to the material. She's also wisdom. She comes down here, she is here in the material, and she's here because she wants to be here. I mean, there are times when it may seem like she is trapped here and she needs to break free of the bonds and ascend, but in the devil card, I think there is the aspect of Sophia here in the world, perhaps misperceived, enjoying the experience, playfully experiencing this matter, because the matter was created because the divine wanted it to be created, not because it was like, oh, damn, I made this matter and oh, it's cursed. Get it away from me. I don't think that's what the divine is all about. And so Sophia is also here enjoying the creation that is here. And our perception of her might be misformed. So the devil can also be playfulness. It can be materialism, either the negative sense of you're so materialistic, or materialism as in the enjoyment of the experience of the material. Chaos can be here, and chaos can be both either positive or negative. There's the negative chaos of, oh my God, everything is disorganized. But remember, we're moving forward as an organized one into this, so that that chaos can be a creative chaos. This knight can be entering this chaos with the attitude of, look at all of this stuff I can put together. Yeah? So there's pleasure here, there's fantasy here as well. And the Knight of Coin can discover his, her, their fantasy here. Now, the hidden subconscious powers of both positive and negative can start to come into our perceptive awareness in this card as well. With all of the paradoxes and contradictions of the unconscious, the Knight of Coin is moving here into that. And there are different ways that we can move into this area. We can move into this area with fear, with loathing, like Las Vegas, or we can move into it with curiosity and interest and a release of constraint and an exploration, a playful exploration, and a kindling of passion. Now, you see the devil there holds the torch of passion, right? Kindled passion. So here we have the knight moving in. Let's flow with it in the positive sense, because I think that's the direction that the main reading was moving us towards. We move with our practicality, our Knight of Discs, into the experience of the playful, interested passion, the beginnings of passion sparking aspect of the devil. And our unconscious contents are starting to be more perceptible. And the Knight of Coin will be able to take those contents and start doing stuff with them. And so we move into the Tower. Now the Tower is actually la maison Dieu, the house god. And our house god is breaking off the roof, right? Which can be things like disaster, of course, and upheaval. Now we see these figures falling out of, we see one figure. To me, I see one figure falling out of the building, maybe out of a window. Perhaps even this person has jumped deliberately. And considering the size of the house and the size of the person, it's not such a huge fall. It's a survivable fall. But the other figure, the one that is behind the tower, to me looks like somebody crawling out of a rear exit. This figure is leaving that space in a safer way. They haven't leapt out of a window, they've crawled out of a back door, to me. And we have all of this energy floating down from the sky. We have this burst of energy cracking off the crown, which again could be disaster or upheaval, but it could be other things as well. It could be endurance, which is important, coming, I think, from that Knight of Coin entering the devil area. Our endurance is called for, right? It's the breaking of boundaries, those limitations that had been formed before the ending of whatever it was that ended. It's freedom from confinement as well. Yeah? The tower could have been a prison that we are liberated from. It could also be revealed secrets, which could be interesting, something to explore for yourself perhaps, and myself, I guess, maybe. And it could also be a joyful explosion, an explosion coming from this devil who is beginning to playfully enjoy and explore the material, and their passion is starting to spark here. That spark could here become a burst of joy, a burst of energy. an illumination, an opening. Does that make sense? And which is interesting because, frankly, I pulled these cards before I really read the larger spread in depth. Before I really picked it apart, I pulled these cards. And the interesting thing to me was at the end of that larger spread, we had Virgo. Virgo was indicated. And the Virgo indication of that spread was to perhaps broaden, to have clear boundaries, porous boundaries, but to evaluate whether it's time to broaden the boundaries, to include more people in one area of our boundaries. Now, do you realize that you have several layers of boundaries? Your inner castle has many boundaries, many partitions to it. There's an area of your personal space that you will allow people. Okay, let's go from the very closest. There's a very close area of your personal space that you will only allow very intimate people in. There's also probably an area for all of us that you will let no one in, that is absolutely ours, private. There's an area that's a little broader that will let very, very intimate people in, but no one else. There's a larger area where we'll allow friends and perhaps even co-workers or people that we're comfortable within. And there's an even larger area, the largest wall, or the largest boundary, I should say. I want to avoid walls because walls are for keeping people out, but boundaries, where we allow people in and we let them leave and it's porous. So the largest boundary is where we allow acquaintances, people to pass through. And we'll say hi to people on the street. There are various layers of that, right? And sometimes we want to look at our boundaries and make sure that they're clear, but we might realize that we want to expand the area of one section of our boundaries or another. Think of this personal space tower as having circular rings of space around it. And so the boundaries are increasingly sized circles. So sometimes we might want to increase one or another of those circles. We might want to allow a few more people into the closest, most intimate area of our boundaries. Or we might want to expand that broadest one and just allow more people to just come in and go out. Yeah? Does that make sense? So there's that idea of expansion here as well, which is interesting. And so what helps us to expand? What causes that expansion, right? Where is that fire coming from? That energy, that cracking openness coming from, interestingly, le Pendu, the hanged one. And this is a beautiful Swiss-style Pendu. Now we see, instead of trees, we see very formal-looking poles on the sides, right? Both feet are tied up. Both hands are behind the back. And the face of this very handsome, I think, Pendu is looking at the ground. A little bit at the ground, but the face is that way. Very nice legs on this Pendu, if you ask me. Kind of a sexy Pendu. One of the reasons I like the Swiss tarots is that Pendu are often very sexy. So who is the Pendu? Le Pendu, the hanged one, can be sacrifice, can be defiance, can be rebellion, can be traitor, can be some of those. Well, it depends on who you are, right? If you're the establishment, the traitor is a bad thing. But if you're a revolutionary, the traitor to the establishment could be someone on our side, right? It always depends on our perspective. But in the more positive senses, it could be defying convention as well. Now, the one who defies the convention, and perhaps that's what cracks us open. That That's what cracks open the boundaries. We start exploring things that we hadn't considered for ourselves before. We had been preventing ourselves from doing because we thought we had to keep within these boundaries, and now it's time to break open a little bit. It could be waiting and immobility. That's definitely part of that. And wouldn't that be interesting that our waiting and our immobility, our rest, our non-doing is what gives that energy to crack open the tower? It's possible. It's possible that our time of staying still and not moving, of non-doing, maybe even prayer, can be what creates that energy, like a Tesla cage maybe, creates that energy and cracks open the confinements of the tower. Possible, right? Other things like perspectives turned upside down, new perspectives, that could crack open our tower too. It could be acceptance of what really is. Now, the acceptance of the here and now, which is an echo from, I think, the larger spread. Accepting what is. That's one of the ways to overcome obstacles. That's a way to surrender to an obstacle, to accept what is one way to be able to move through or past or up, above or below or around it. Rather than facing the obstacle with our sword or axe in hand and trying to smash it away. Another option is to surrender to what is, and in that opening, in that fluidity, we can move through or around or over or under it. So that's also, I think, indicated here is that acceptance of reality as it is could be what cracks open the boundaries. Because those boundaries of the tower, the walls, the prison walls of the tower, because it's our misperception that causes that feeling of being confined and encased and imprisoned, right? Right. So, what is this beautiful, beautiful, sexy, sorry. Yeah, the hanged man is sexy. The sexy hanged man facing the Seven of Cups. Beautiful, beautiful card. Seven of Cups, creating joy, compassion, and empathy. Now, it's the movement of our emotional life out into the community. Sevens, for me, are the movement out into the community, whatever that community is. It could be our family, it could be our work environment, the people we work with, it could be a larger group of people, or as some people call them, our peeps. It could be that kind of group, whatever you want to name. Creating joy, our passion, our love and compassion move out into the community. It could also be this single person finding a space, a place in the group. Because this single person has now freshly emerged from the tower. So where are you? Where are you? Oh, tower, there you are. Has released themselves from the tower and now is here in the group. And you find your place and clarify boundaries, but find your place in the group. It's love in action in the world. It's generosity, giving without advertising it. It's giving without making a show of it. We're not giving to get attention or to get respect or to get appreciation. We're giving for the love of giving, quietly, in humility, here in the Seven of Cups. It's also the connection to universal love. Connection to universal love without rejecting daily life. It's that dichotomy of being present here in the now, in the physical, as eternal beings, having these beautiful human experiences in these wonderful human bodies that we're co-creating, living intentional lives, and appreciating all of that, and still as well connecting with the universality, the oneness of all of that is, as we experience the playfulness of duality and enjoy that as the devil, as the devil, as we do in the devil card. Does that make sense? So just briefly, what was that through line? Yeah, we started off with the Knight of Coin, doing the tasks, creative, but productive, moving slowly, effectively, efficiently, moving slowly, and we come into the devil where we begin to enjoy where we are, what we are doing, where we discover our playfulness, we discover what contents have been hiding in our unconscious, and we begin to appreciate the paradoxes that are there, and we move forward, and we realize that we have liberated ourselves from our tower. We've broken the boundaries of confinement, keeping the boundaries that are beneficial to us, but those boundaries of confinement have been cracked open. We are liberated. We are illuminated, and we've opened, and we've got our endurance moving forward, and that has all come from the Le Pendu. Le Pendu. And Le Pendu, the defying conventions, we're able to move past what we thought we could, our limits were. Yeah. But we're also taking a moment, we're waiting, we're not moving. I mean, the Knight of Pentacles is moving forward, but we're not rushing forward, right? We're here in the present, in the eternal now, and our perspective has changed, and that is what has helped us to crack open the prison walls. And as we do that, then we face our place in society, right? We have compassion for others, we're generous to others, we have empathy for them as well as ourselves, and we experience the unity of the eternal nature that we are, and the divine oneness of all, as we experience and enjoy the experience of being physical human beings, co-creating these experiences in a very dualistic material universe. And that's the movement forward, I believe, from endings. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I'd also like to know, would you add another layer to any or all of these cards in your reading of this spread? Did I explain why I chose those extra 2 cards clearly enough? Let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to hear from you. And friends, if you are still here, please hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of it, and other people might get something out of it as well. It draws more eyes to the channel. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm doing about 3 a week. I don't know. I hope to be able to get to 4, but this semester has been a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So we'll see. But I am doing 3 a week. Again, in the description box below, there is a link for you to go check out this deck. Take a look. Take a look at all their decks. They really are a great shop. And if you want a reading from me, either with RWS, Tarot de Marseille, Italian decks, whatever, we can do a reading for you in whatever style, long, short, by photo, by video, whatever. I have my email address in the description box below. shoot me an email and we will get you a reading. Okay? And remember, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.